are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. It's good to be able to meet with you. I enjoyed myself in your classroom today. So cute. Your old man looked great. They were shocked.
Yes. They were like, they walked in and were just like, what is going on?
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. So I wanted to go ahead and, so this week, we have data meetings. And just wanted to go over your latest interim assessment data for math and your reading assessment. So there's a lot to celebrate. So I would just say, like, for math, we'll probably go over like some strengths for both math and reading, but we are going to focus our meeting on reading feedback for that. But I think just successes. Your data analysis had a lot of strengths for math this time. The Reteach plan has a very effective model, and I think that it will drive solid results. I will be like working with you like a little bit more like based on the feedback. Hopefully we schedule a time to practice that before it's time to teach it in the upcoming weeks. Students were able to fluently add and subtract within 100, and mental addition and subtraction is strong. And I think that's going to go a long way to like raising the data points that you still need to raise. Just as far as like math areas to improve, like I saw that you saw the fast facts like adding fluently within 20 was still an area that they needed to grow in. And I do think it's just like that many reps. And you were thinking about times to work that into your day. And I think I gave feedback like you can work it and sometimes you more than work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing like hit during a little bit, just quickly in math meeting too.
Yeah, you can do that both because they only take like 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then of course like number stories across the second grade, across the school really. We need to work on number stories. So we're doing some things. I have some resources that I'll share that Drew sent me over Christmas break, but Drew is also going to be working on our campus do some TV on number stories. So we should be able to improve in those areas. As far as reading, like there's a lot of books, there's a lot to celebrate.
I was so happy because the first 2 go-rounds, I was feeling very defeated. I was feeling like...
Well, what do you think? So I like pointed out that like accuracy, rate, and fluency, like things that you were worried about, have improved dramatically, especially for the higher levels. I think we still have some work to do with some of the lower levels, but like it's improved a lot, which is good. And I think like the more that they're reading, the better that they'll get. And continue like you and Courtney are working really well to do like the fluency pros, and modeling what that should look like, and using the appropriate text. And I think those things, like doing those things, we can help them continue to grow. So what else do you think led to those successes for you? Because I know you're all happy about the growth.
Yeah, I think we really spent the time. We really got our rotations down, I think, at the beginning. Like this time, was it last week or like 2 days or whatever day it was, we just practice rotations. And now, because we spent that 1 day, instead of losing a little bit every day, we're having nice long rotations. So I think that having the actual time makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, like I think like the differences between like unit 1 and 2 and like what happened in unit 3 is I think people were like actually like, and you were like really digging into the text and like working to like do everything that should happen before, during, and after reading. And I think just that intentionality, making sure that the lessons are annotated, and also just like making sure that scholars are reading an appropriate text every day has gone a long way.
I think I thought they were supposed to be reading higher than what they were.
Yeah, they need to read at their DNA, which is like what they should be achieving next. Like if they DNA at 7, like you want them to achieve 7. So they should be reading those.
And I was told, I don't even remember what, but like if they DNA 4, have them be reading a 5 or 6 in that way. But the problem was with the higher levels, they can handle that. It's the deeper questions, but the lower levels,
it's hard.
Yeah.
And
so
the books change a lot. Like there's some dramatic changes in between some of the books.
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely, for like the higher levels, you may be able to like go back and forth a little bit depending on the text. But for the lower levels, try to stick
Yeah,
within
and
that,
that was one
that
thing
DNA.
yeah.
Because you have to work on those specific things, and just making sure that the books you pick have a features
Align with
based
that.
on what the
Yeah.
data says. So areas to improve that I'm gonna focus on today, is a comprehension.
That, yeah. Across the board, that's the thing that's holding a lot of scholars back, high, low, and.
So what specifically did you see in your data that led you to believe that comprehension is like something that they need to do?
Going just through where the DNA, what I do is I go through the analyze things DNA, look at each individual's wall, and I wanna say almost everybody in, Ambiance is either written or oral comprehension or retail.
Yep.
And that seemed to be just.
It was
carried on
across the
through.
board, yeah, and I have your classes, so if you ever wanna go in, if you have this component analysis by step level.
That's one thing, like,
I know it's like kinda difficult, and I can like, but this is like one quick, easy way,
so go through here, component analysis, that one.
yeah, by step level, and then like you have your class up, and then if you click, so I wanna focus on like DNA 7 today, for this meeting, and like if you look at DNA 7,
So I click on step 7, component analysis.
and then you can see where the red is, the difference. Like
Silent comprehension.
silent comprehension, is where they miss the question, so
Okay. I
basically.
didn't even notice that, I've been going through each individual.
Yeah, so this is the easy way, so it's like,
That's what I
and then you can see the scholars
And
here.
then tells you who's there, okay?
And then you click on it, you can actually look at the test and answers, for that DNA group.
I've been doing step for like over a year now. Never knew.
I mean, there's so many things, and you
Yeah.
kind of have to play with it, to be able to find things, but,
When I
definitely
played it on the
like,
stuff I hadn't thought I was doing well, I was like, oh, this is a lot easier.
yeah, but yeah, if you look at, for DNA 7, and we want, I think DNA 7 and 8 are like groups that you need to focus on this time, for the purposes of today, because I saw like DNA 7 was silent comprehension, DNA 8 was comprehension and retail. So I think if you like focus on comprehension first, which is what we're gonna focus on in today's meeting, that can help with, 7 and 8, and then like as the weeks progress and you get more feedback, we'll also like work to retail. But I think like if they start getting the comprehension questions correctly, then it's gonna help them to be able to do a more effective retail. Because a retail is a little bit harder, like you have to use a mini
It's a higher
parts of the
level,
book.
yeah.
So it's like a higher level thinking, activity. So we're gonna start with just like the comprehension questions and making that stronger, like for them to be able to.
They'll
answer
comprehend what they're
questions.
reading, they're definitely doing well. Probably the components for that.
Yeah, so that's gonna be our focus today, is to like work at, and I have DNA 7 that we're looking at, but I mean, you can easily use either of these,
Yeah.
DNA 7 and 8, to think about how to improve their comprehension, especially when they're reading silently. Because I know, like, I've seen you giving them a lot of at-bats for like reading silently. So we wanna make sure we're doing that, like, in a way that's gonna be effective and help,
Okay.
like, drive results. So our focus today will be on reading comprehension. And what I specifically wanted to do, today, so I don't have like an exemplar video, because I think we've looked at most of the videos.
Sure.
And I think we've seen like effective conversations, but I wanted to kind of like roll that back a little bit from what we see with Uncommon and think about how do we get to the level that Uncommon is, for like having those very meaningful conversations with scholars. And what I put together is, a criteria for success, and I'll share it with you.
Like, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but like today, getting them to understand that the character felt that she was gonna lose part of her past and her heritage and stuff. Did I handle that with like, cause it felt like I gave them at bats, they weren't getting it.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah, so it is linked to what I'm
okay,
talking
good, 'cause
about
I want,
today, because
I
they
felt
did
like,
struggle.
yeah,
And that was an inspirational, like, critical thinking type
Yeah.
of question, it was a hard question. And I think what they struggle most with is, though they were looking back in the book, they don't know how to, specifically state cite the correct text evidence and link it to like what they know in their schema to like make an inference. And I think in order for them to do something like that complex, they're gonna have to see you model it.
Okay,
So today, like, that's what we're gonna focus on, is like how to activate their thinking, to like, they can see what it looks like to effectively think about a question,
okay.
look for evidence, and like make a connection in their schema to that evidence, and then make an inference,
Okay.
ultimately make an inference. So I just shared with you, this criteria for success. And as you're reading through it, what I want you to think about is how do we prep them to be able to answer? And I've actually started with an easier question instead of like influential.
Yeah.
I think I've done this, because they have to know how to answer.
Yeah,
I think they're doing an inference, but this is like an inference on feelings, which is like a little bit easier of an inference than the one, yours was really more like a critical thinking question, and it was like, that question was really hard. But this one today is, they're gonna make an inference about how someone feels, which I think is also like perception, like they're still focusing on
Yeah.
character feelings and making inferences based on that. So as you look at this, what I want you to look at are like, there's like specific pieces. So there's a preparation piece, and then like after you've prepped, what you should do before the model, how to model, and then like how to debrief a model. And so what I'm gonna do for you today is I'm gonna give you about 2 minutes to read this through, and I want you to think about what is effective about having this, and then what gaps do you see like in your current practice with your reading comprehension conversations. So you can take a few minutes to read through that. And then like the things that I've highlighted, I'm gonna actually model this for you
Okay.
and show you what it is. So what do you see as effective about like this criteria for success?
That it walks them through how they should be thinking, how they can get deeper thought. They're pretty good factual, but getting them like today, dig deeper, something critical.
And how am I getting into dig deeper and think more critically like through this?
You're thinking aloud, saying, walking them through the process of how you're getting to the answer to the question. You're not just saying, oh, well, he's just, oh my goodness, it's a pig, he cried out. He must be scared. So, you know what I mean? Like you're walking through like why. And you're not just saying the personal experience, you're using text evidence, which I think a lot of times they rely heavily on personal experience. Which personal experience is
It's valid.
very valid, yeah.
Yeah, but they always need to have like, they need to balance the two, especially at steps 7 and 8. They need to balance like concrete, like textual evidence. And more of like their scheme is more of like supportive of that, and then like in here, I said like they're gonna think about like the words, so they need to start like really looking at quotes, because they're not, the text doesn't like specifically say how they